A to the K.
To the K.
To the K.
CM Punk's first Collision feud announced.
Breaking news: WWE has unveiled a new undisputed championship.
Another one. The first 2 matches for Forbidden Door have been announced.
Ooh. Lance Archer,
Blah blah.
Lance Archer reveals the reason behind his recent absence.
WWE blocking AEW in certain venues has been announced.
No,
Sorry,
no.
I'll stop with the announced.
No, that's fine. Alexa first announces she's pregnant.
Full of announcements on here. Tony Khan comments on potential streaming deals for AEW.
Did he announce anything?
No.
Oh. WWE star Lita appears at an indie promotion during a storyline injury.
Riddick Moss and Emma announce their engagement.
Hey. British MPs announce that they're not big fans of cowboy wrestling promotions.
Who is? Anthony, when's all this coming up?
It's all coming up. Right, freaking now.
Hallelujah!
Yes!
We did it! Right, it's kicking off with Collision then. Literally, we missed a lot of news in like the past week. It was like the whole announcement happened, and then now all like more announcements.
Stuff.
Just like we announce stuff, Tony Khan announces stuff every 2 minutes. So we know CM Punk is going to be there in Chicago for the debut of Collision. But cast your mind back, if you will. There was rumours that when Punk came back, he was going to have a feud with Samoa Joe. That was the kind of the thing going, the word on the street, if you will. But the latest murmurs, Anthony, is that Punk wants to work with Jay White.
Interesting stuff.
Now, you may have noticed since Jay White...
Wait, he's in the Bullet Club?
Bullet Club Gold.
But Punk doesn't like the Bullet Club members half the time.
There you go. That's why it would make sense, right? Why it would make sense. So, if you think about it, originally the feud they wanted to do was going to be Punk and FTR against the Elite. Yeah. And that's not going to happen. So, why don't you sub out the Elite with the Bullet Club, hey?
We don't know it's going to happen.
Well, we don't know for sure. But if you think when Jay White came in, he teamed up with the other guy. That guy.
Dave?
Yeah, you know.
Adam Cole,
what's he called? Juice Robinson?
Juice Robinson.
Is that him? But yeah, they teamed up, and since he's joined, not really much has been going on for Bullet Club Gold. You know, even in the Battle Royal at Double or Nothing, they got dumped out pretty early. But he's now kind of having this feud with Ricky Starks. So I'm wondering whether they're going to start building him up a little bit ahead of Collision. Good, so it's like, okay, he has been beating some people, and it makes sense for Punk to fight him. If you think about it, when Punk comes back, he's not going to lose, is he? I wouldn't have thought. But it's interesting, though, that if this is the feud they go for, because he got a mixed reaction in the announcement. So is everyone going to cheer him? Does everyone actually want him back?
The crowd reaction is going to be an interesting one.
Because if you're going, I know they don't do face versus heel, but it's
okay.
Jay White is playing a heel at the minute as part of Bullet Club Gold. They're not like a super cool over faction, so
it's an interesting one. But I think it's honestly, bringing Punk back for me, it should have been giving the fans what they want. A lot of people on socials are wanting Samoa Joe. I think it's a bit of a risky move not giving them that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Interestingly, I think a lot of people are building up Collision like, oh, he's gonna be like, they're gonna have a match and it needs to be this match, and Punk's gonna talk. He's not gonna have a match that night. Yeah. I think a lot of people are expecting him to be like in a match straight away. Yeah. I don't think that's gonna happen.
In typical A to the K fashion, especially now we've done this, started doing it on a Tuesday. The announcement tomorrow on Dynamite is the first match is going to be announced.
Yeah, possibly.
So it's going to be Punk, you know what I mean? Yeah. So
I can't see him having a match on Collision. I think because I've seen a couple of social posts recently where they're like, "Oh, this would be the dream," and it's like the Collision logo and Punk versus Samoa Joe, and I'm like, that would be brilliant. But I don't think that's what we're going to get at Collision. The first Collision is going to be he's going to come out, he's going to say some stuff about being back and loving wrestling and so on. Maybe set up his feud going forward, but he's not going to do anything other than talk, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, in Rampage, the first...
unless they don't trust him with a mic anymore, in which case he's not going to do anything other than wrestle.
Well, yeah. But when they debuted Rampage, that was what they did. They kicked off the show with all the fans chanting for Punk because they knew he was back. So maybe we'll see something similar. But yeah, remains to be seen. He might be going up against Switchblade.
Which blade?
No, Nintendo Switchblade. That's it. We've got to do something there. Got to be me.
Nice.
So yeah,
that's got to be when the Fight Forever on the Switch. That's got to be something.
Yeah, we'll do something there.
Yeah. So, Carl, a little bit old news at this point, but WWE have unveiled a new WWE Undisputed Universal Championship. So that's Roman no longer has 2 separate belts. He's now got one shiny, nice gold belt.
Yeah.
A reference to your post. There you go.
What do you think of it?
Yeah, I've never been a fan of the big W, so I don't really think it matters what colour you put behind it. Still not that big a fan. I am a big fan of Seth Rollins' title.
Yeah, it's growing on me a bit. It's still not as good as the old Big Gold.
I know we probably disagree a little bit there, but I don't think... You see, the old Big Gold is iconic, so I don't really... It's hard to...
Iconic!
It's hard to... Like, I can't sit here and honestly say, oh, it's better than that, because it can't compare to an iconic belt, but I just look at it as like, we're never getting Big Gold back.
Yeah.
That's never going to happen. So, as far as modern day belts, you know...
It is significantly better than this, let's be honest.
So much better.
One of the problems I've got with this, though, and I could be wrong, I don't know what your thoughts are on it. Have they just spray painted the leather? It doesn't look like that's a metal back.
It's interesting. Maybe,
it looks like, because if you look at like the detail on it, it just looks the same as the leather.
Yeah, it's got that textured sort of...
So I'm like, really? Have they just spray painted it gold?
Possibly.
Like, how shit is that?
But they want to sort of keep the weights right as well, don't they? You add metal to that, it's going to weigh the belt down. He's been carrying 2 of the fuckers for ages, so maybe it doesn't matter. But no, it's interesting. I don't... you know, they weren't like, oh yeah, great. I like the fact that they've made 1 belt. I'm kind of like not a big fan of the whole carrying 2 belts. And especially if you were defending 2 belts, that'd be different for me. But when they are like unified, then fucking have a single belt for them.
Yeah, it's always been better when they've done that, isn't it? Like, remember the original Undisputed title that they did? Sick.
I love that belt.
That was a good belt.
Have you seen someone did a compilation of... I think the heading on it on TikTok was WWE unveiling the same belt like 100 times. And it was literally every time they've unveiled one of these big W belts. And there's so many times they've gone, the new WWE, like they started with the one for The Rock, and then when they redone it with the obviously the non-scratch logo, then they were like, when they unveiled the Universal one, when they unveiled the women's one, when they unveiled the SmackDown women's one, and it just kept going and going, and you're like, oh my fucking god, they've done this so many times that the fact that it's still the exact same belt with a slightly different colour just amuses me.
You know, that's it. When they did it with Seth's new belt, at least that was like, ooh, this is a new title. Whereas this one is just like, oh, it's the same but spray painted gold. Like, really?
It's like somebody went into the creative belt side of 2K and just...
Literally, the majority of comments on like Twitter and stuff was, "I've seen this belt on 2K. I've seen," and everyone's just put like it's been made a gazillion times. So
people have made nicer unified belts for Roman on 2K.
Oh yeah,
but again, you've mentioned this a few times. Having your logo emboldened across the front of the belt like that is great for marketing.
Like, let's be honest. Whoever wins the NBA playoffs, for example, they're going to get that belt. They're not going to get sets.
Yeah.
That's going to be the big WWE logo, and it's going to be there with side plates with the team. So it's a branding, marketing,
it's a dream
thing, isn't it? So
yeah.
So yeah, I'm consider me whelmed, probably underwhelmed, but yeah, it's not the best.
Well, it's nice having 1 belt though.
It is. It is. You know what else is nice having?
Go on.
Matches announced for Forbidden Door.
Yay!
And you know what, Anthony?
Shaping up to be an all-time.
People are losing their fucking minds what they're doing, right? We've never before had Danielson versus Okada. So that's a match which is like...
To be honest, even I'm kind of getting hyped for this. The first Forbidden Door, a lot of it was lost on me. I wasn't a New Japan guy. Even the stuff that's slightly lost on me, I'm like Daniel's selling the fuck out of this. Or Brian is selling the fuck out of this. Right? So I don't really know much about Okada. I understand like they've never faced him. They should have, given his time in Japan. But you go, you know what? I really want to see this happen.
Yeah. Well, if you look at like Uncle Dave's 5-star match fucking catalogue, I think Okada's got like 6 stars, 7 stars, all that stuff. You know, Danielson's got 5, 6, 7 stars.
Yeah.
So it's a match which is crazy. It's never taken place before. So it is a wrestling fan's wet dream, let's be honest, right? Do you know what else is a wrestling fan's wet dream, Anthony? Is we're going to get the 3rd in the series between Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay.
Yeah. And Ospreay selling the fuck out of this match as well.
Now it's not just he hates Kenny, he hates Canada. And where's Forbidden Door taking place? Canada. So he's going to be booed out the fucking building. Do you know what? It's hard to... I mean, other than the comments he made about Brett, but he's there saying like, you know, everyone says Canada's full of friendly people and all that. You know, Chris Jericho's a cunt. Like, you go like reels off this list, like Don Callis is a cunt. It's like Bret Hart just fucking complains and moans all the time. It's like Canada's fucking shit, and it's like,
I'll give Ospreay his due. He's doing really well at this heel role. Like, other than, and I shouldn't feel this way, but other than the British accent being kind of jarring when you watch an extremely American product, like, he's fantastic.
Yeah.
I really hope
the fact he got like a fucking broad like Essex accent as well. It's not even just like he's British. It's like fuck. So one of the worst.
I don't want to be this guy, but
speaking Scouse, but
I really hope he signs with AEW. Like, I don't want to be like, oh, everyone should go to AEW, but like, only because from a selfish point of view, I want to see more of him, and I don't watch New Japan.
Well, it'll be a crime if he's not at all in.
Yeah, without a doubt.
It's, the fact he's working this card now as well. Like, I don't know, we're going to get number 4 between these.
Yeah, I mean, they've obviously clearly got a really good working relationship with New Japan to have these sort of pay-per-views, so you got to imagine that's on the cards.
Yeah. But no, I'm excited, these matches have been announced, but also that they kind of make sense. They've not been matches which have been taken over the fucking show every week. Do you remember last year? It was just like, what's happened to the core storylines?
For a while.
It was gone, it disappeared. Yeah. It's the same as what happened with Ring of Honor when he did that. Yeah. It was like,
I actually think people like have said about like AEW getting worse. I don't think AEW in a way got worse. I think that was the problem. Like, you'd look at like, because they were always initially they were really good at storytelling. And everyone's like, oh, there's no real long-term stories. Like, they just abandoned everything. Like, and that's still not a good look or a good move. But like, now Ring of Honor's got its own shit going on, and like you say, they've not been too heavy on Forbidden Door. It's balancing a little bit better.
Yeah, and I think as well, I think we're going to talk about it in a minute, so I won't give too much away. But we don't necessarily always know why people aren't there. So people are like, oh, they're not using talent, and it's like, well, maybe there's other shit going on in their lives.
Do you want to move to that?
Let's move on to that, shall we?
So obviously, you alluded to Lance Archer, and Lance Archer has took to social media, I can't remember which one, to clarify something. Because again, a lot of people are talking about the booking side of things. He's not being booked right, etc., etc. And he's made it clear that he's actually torn I want to say it's pectoral. I'll just double check that. I think it might have been tricep actually, but he's actually suffering an injury, Carl, and has been sort of working on healing that up.
Yeah, to be fair, he is someone that a lot of people, like with the likes of Miro and people like that, they've complained for a while he's not being utilised and things, but goes to show what people are actually dealing with.
So yeah, there's the quote, which is strange because the Twitter post isn't his, but I assume it's come from a video by the looks of it, but the quote says, AEW, New Japan, Pro Wrestling, every fucking mark, this message is for you. There's a reason I haven't been wrestling a lot. It's nothing to do with bad booking, you dumb shits. To the point. I've been battling a torn tricep, there you go, and didn't tell because I don't need your sympathy. Which is a fair fucking point. But sadly, when there's no information, people are going to speculate. And when I'm not trying to go, it's not the fans' fault, because we can be a pain in the ass. When you've got people like Lance Archer who's saying nothing at all, but then you've got people like Andrade and various others who they say something but not. Like I'm not going to say too much, but I'm going to put a cryptic message on socials to let you know I'm not happy. Then they build speculation, oh, he's not happy with his booking and this, that, and the next thing. Miro does it all the time as well. Yeah. So they're feeding the trolls. So then everyone starts to speculate, well, you see this, they're not happy with their booking, they're obviously not getting used right. And then he gets thrown in the mix because he's not saying anything. And sadly, I think it fuels it when you get people who are clearly alluding to the fact that they're not happy.
Yeah. As Ronan Keaton would say, you say it best when you say nothing at all.
As Ronan Keaton would also say, life is a roller coaster.
He's got to ride it, But yeah, look, fair play. Like, at least he's explained why we haven't seen him, and it's good that he's starting to come back. Hopefully, I think Jake Roberts alluded to in some interview as well recently that that's one of the reasons he's been off TV is he's waiting for Lance to heal up and things. So maybe they'll be paired back up again. Because
we could end up with like a match at some point between like Darby Allin with Sting, Lance with Jake.
Wardlow with Arn.
Yeah. Just keep going.
Yeah. Who's Tully with these days? Yeah, just go.
Sean? No?
Maybe, yeah. But who knows? Possibly. So this next one is a fascinating one. Now, it comes from our friend Uncle Dave Anthony. And he's basically said there's an interesting note that in arenas that do rent to both AEW and WWE, WWE started putting clauses in the deals so that AEW can't run a certain number of weeks before or after the WWE show, and also that AEW and the arena can't announce the show or sell tickets until after the show's taken place. Now, for someone, for a company that doesn't see AEW as competition, obviously Nick Khan's gone on record as saying, well, we see everyone as competition, not wrestling shows, because we're an entertainment company.
Okay, so do you have any other specific clauses then?
Well, exactly.
Like, let's look at just wrestling. Do you do that with Impact?
Yeah. Whoa! Disney on Ice? Fuck right.
It's not while we're around. So,
exactly.
Nah, bullshit.
Yeah. It's a petty move, I think, and I kind of get it, right? Because if you domestically in the States, you look at both companies and they're on the like downward turn. To be fair, now wrestling's been on a peak for a while, and it's like proper hype and so much exposure and everything going on, but there's a reason WWE keep running premium live events outside of America. It's because they draw a shitload more people.
Yep.
You look at the AEW struggles recently of like trying to put shows on. Like even Chicago is kind of struggling now because they've been there so much with Punk. It's like they put a show on and it's like, well, I saw them like 3 weeks ago. Yeah, and it's still $60 a time or something. It's like, so people aren't always going to pay. It's massively oversaturated. Was it Maddie last week when she was talking to us? Like, I think you made the point because we were talking about All In, weren't we? And we were just saying like, even we're getting spoiled to a degree now. Like we've had Clash, we're having fucking Money in the Bank. Yeah. All In.
There's been there's such an increased opportunity to see wrestling, and it's something we've always been starved of historically. Yeah, like to the point you look at like, and I'm not throwing specific shade, but you look at like Money in the Bank ticket prices. I can see why and they will sell, no problem, by the way. But I can see why a lot of people might go, you know what, I did Clash, and that's a lot of money. Yeah. So even as people who don't get to see it all that often, they're going to start making choices like that as well. Yeah. So it's a fair point.
Yeah, you can kind of see what they're doing, but it is petty as fuck though, isn't it?
It's massively. To be honest, this to me acknowledges that they consider them a threat, and I wouldn't have, if I was in their shoes. It's that difficulty of, you put the clause in so it doesn't affect you from a booking standpoint, or do you not put it in because that would, because putting it in would give they've basically told Tony Khan that they're threatened. Yeah. Which is mad because they're still massive and they still shouldn't be even slightly threatened by them. Yeah. But the fact that they're doing stuff like that to go, oh, we're going to make sure that you can't essentially affect it. Like, it's almost smacks of like they think Tony Khan's going to pull some shit. So they're trying to stop him now.
Maybe. The thing is, though, even though you look at viewing figures, WWE's miles ahead, obviously. I think SmackDown drew like 2.5 million this past Friday, and Rampage got like 250 or 300,000. So from a viewing stand, and it's different time. It's all there's all the different factors.
I've always said like AEW. Right? I've always hated the comparison because AEW is a baby company compared. Yeah.
It's like there's a lot of factors.
Oh, NXT's their developmental brand. And they should be beating them. It's like, well, they were like 2 years old. No, they were a year old when they started beating them.
They're a developmental company.
Yeah, exactly. Like the fairest comparison was NXT, and they battered them. So like,
but the difference is, like, TV ratings aside, is you look at arenas and they're still going to run in similar arenas with similar capacities. Yeah. So you're looking at like between 7,000 to 12,000 people or something. So you can see and most of them are kind of getting there or thereabouts. Obviously, it's on a downward turn at the minute because of the saturation, but you can kind of see it. But it's a dirty tactic.
When you look at because the bottom line is AEW, because they are a smaller company with a lot less profile, the tickets are likely going to be cheaper. Yeah. So then you go, people might make that compromise. So I get they won't want them running close to each other because they'll go, well, we'll go to AEW, it's cheaper. Yeah. And they start getting more people at their arenas because it's like, well, it was easier to do. But even so, it's like the whole clause really smacks of like their belief that Tony Khan's going to sort of keep an eye on what they're doing and then book near and try and like market so that they don't. It's like, what? Well, that's it. Why do you feel threatened? I don't.
They're gonna have to clap back, and people will be going, "Oh, look at this AEW." You know what I mean? It'll be AEW's fault.
Oh, always the way. Always the way.
But like, what Tony's gonna have to do now, he's gonna have to try and get ahead of the game and go, "Well, we're gonna have to put a clause in ourselves, and we're gonna have to try and book further out and try and stop."
This
them.
This is the thing, and then it's gonna be a weird thing of like they're gonna be holding venues from each other now, aren't they? Yeah. Because like you say, if Tony applies a similar clause and then starts booking 2025 up. Yeah. The fuck are they gonna do?
That's it. Like, especially in certain towns might only have 1 or 2 venues anyway. Yeah. So like if you can't get that one,
so who suffers?
Yeah, the fans. We do. So
thanks a lot. Both Khans. My turn.
Your
Oh,
turn.
you've done the slide as well.
I know, yeah, just waiting
Fuck
for you.
you.
Just awkward dead air silence.
Sorry, yeah, that's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here for. The awkward silence. This is a nice quick one, Carl. It's just an acknowledgement and congratulations to Alexa Bliss and Ryan Cabrera, whose name I always say wrong, so I'm hoping I've said it right this time.
Ryan Candelabra.
That guy.
Yeah.
They have not long, a year after getting married. I don't know why it's relevant, but the news article put it that way as well. They announced that they're expecting their first child, which is huge. Congratulations.
Massive congratulations. And again, goes to show, well, creative got no plans for Alexa Bliss. Like, I saw a news article literally like the day she announced this pregnancy, going, WWE have finally decided on creative for Alexa Bliss. Planned return imminently. Just bullshit. They're just going, who's been off TV for a while? I know, we'll say, you know what I mean?
But it's like, say like that. Like she sort of, and they don't have to give information out, but she sort of disappeared off TV. And again, it's like, oh, she's been booked badly, or she's been a victim of the whole Bray Wyatt storyline, or whatever. It's like, it's timing wise, it was coincidental that she happened to be in the middle of the Uncle Howdy stuff, but there's a clear reason why she went on TV.
Exactly. Like, there's been a couple of, like, obviously she had the thing with like the skin, didn't she?
Oh, of course, yeah.
She's had loads of stuff going on. But on the Masked Singer, so
shows you though, Rumour Mill needs to fuck one.
It does. Get to fuck Rumour Mill.
Get to fuck.
So the next one, I'm gonna have to look at my phone for this because I don't know too much about it, because we're great at what we do. So I think it's regarding the potential streaming deal.
I'll clue you in. He hasn't said a lot.
Well, yeah. But essentially, he was asked about it again, and he said that, they're trying to build a great library of content. So they've got all the stuff from Dark, all the stuff from Elevation, Dynamite's 3.5 years, 4 years going. They've launched Rampage, now there's Collision. And he's essentially saying that the more content they put out, the more chance, of having a strong library to launch a network with, or a streaming deal with, at least. Yeah,
one of the things when he's mentioned companies getting involved, he's just said there's a lot of money on the table. He hasn't really alluded to, like, we're going to go with this. We're going
fucking money.
Because obviously they're part of Warner Brothers Discovery or whatever. And you go, is your library going to go on there? And apparently that's not part of the existing deal. But as he alluded to, there's a lot of money on the table there in terms of the catalogue they're building and the catalogue they've already got. So he's not give any specifics, but it seems like it's inevitable.
Yeah. Well, it should be. And it'd be fascinating if Warner Discovery don't go for it. Because it'd be odd almost to have all your stuff on like TNT and TBS or whatever, then I don't know, fucking Peacock picks it up or something. You're like,
well, that's the thing. Like for me, like I don't know how it works in the States, so apologies if it's a little different, but like we have Discovery Plus over here. Discovery Plus is full of like great content, but doesn't have anything like this. To put a library of AEW stuff onto Discovery Plus, it'd be another unique selling point for Discovery Plus in this country. Certainly,
it would. So. It also would feel kind of jarring as well, wouldn't it? Because they've like, I know like HBO have just called it Max now, haven't they? Like they've dropped HBO Max and they've like incorporating other stuff. So you've then got like this whole thing with Discovery's merging with shit as well, isn't it? Like, So I don't know.
I don't know if you've ever looked at Discovery Plus, but it's wild anyway. Because as growing up, you always think Discovery is like educational programming. So you go
just like Pimp My Ride.
It's like Pimp My Ride and Ancient Aliens, and but it's got TLC on there. So you got all like 90 Day Fiance and stuff like that, and you go, okay, this isn't exactly Discovery content, but it's similar to Disney. Like Disney in this country, again, I believe is wildly different. In America, they've only started introducing the actual like adult content recently, as I understand it. But like ours,
was it called Star or something?
Yeah, because they merged with a few different things. Ours has all the like everything's on Disney Plus. So Disney Plus, where you expect to see the mouse, you've got like Deadpool and shit like that on there as well. It's kind of jarring. Like you can watch Bones. You can watch every episode of Bones.
Why wouldn't you think to go on Disney Plus to watch the
crime murder show? Yeah, on Disney under the mouse. It's like,
also,
kind of weird.
The importance of creating separate child profiles.
Yes, very much so. Very much so.
But yeah, I do think it would make sense at some point in time, because I see that stuff on Reddit all the time. Things like, "Oh, I'm a new AEW fan. How can I get watch it from the start and get?" Because people are so like fucking like privileged now with WWE Network. They can literally go back and watch every pay-per-view that's ever happened. Yeah. You can go and watch.
That's a good point. Actually, I never thought of that. Like if you get into WWE now, like. Imagine that, like when I was a kid, I started watching wrestling obviously a lot later than you. I had to start like Attitude Era onwards. And you're like, oh, Golden Era was the best. Yeah. Like even Brit Hart.
Brit Hart. Yeah. BMD.
I say. I feel like there's some sort of like when you did the Diamond Dallas Page
Oh yeah.
That one, I think like you might need to do that now. But yeah, like I never really considered it like that, but people have got the luxury now going right back, haven't they?
Yeah, it's mad. But like, a network would do them like the world of good, I think. So hopefully something, a deal gets on the table for them soon.
Indeed.
Somewhere.
Indeed. So, Carl, here's an interesting one for you. Quite recently, we saw Lita involved in the whole storyline with Becky Lynch, Trish, and her good self, obviously. Sometime in April, one of the episodes of Raw in April, she was kayfabe injured backstage. It was alluded that Trish Stratus was the one who injured her, and she hasn't been seen on screen since for WWE. Now, a lot of people have believed that she is going to essentially return and team up with Becky Lynch against Trish and Zoe Stark.
That's the one.
Thanks. Yeah. And everyone's been like, yeah, that's what's going to happen. That just makes sense, etc. And then, would you believe, Lita's rocked up at an indie promotion.
I know, right?
Done a cartwheel. Hit somebody with a logo.
So bizarre, wasn't it?
No, it was in reference to, I don't follow this particular company, but it was in reference to the wrestler she was attacking as like part of their shtick. So she was mocking them with the cartwheel. But hit a low blow and sort of helped somebody win the match. So everyone was a bit like, so what does this mean? What does this mean? This doesn't normally happen with WWE talent. I mean, personally, I don't think this is affecting anything. I think she probably will be back in WWE. I think she probably will be back to help Becky. She's having a laugh.
Well, yeah. Someone probably asked her, or maybe she knows like the promoter or something. Has gone, yeah, why not? I'll make an appearance. Yeah. But people read way too much into things, don't they? But why didn't you go back after Trish? Why is she going after this person? Doesn't make any sense. What's going on?
It's interesting, like from that point of view, like in terms of breaking kayfabe, it's kind of done that, isn't it? She's injured, but now she's not. Do you know what I mean? Because it's been seen on another wrestling promotion. So I don't know whether WWE. I don't know whether WWE would be particularly bothered by this, or whether they even can be. She's on a Legends contract, and I don't think is restricted the same way as anyone else. Like, surely she can appear in other places and do what she wants.
Although Devon told us at the time, he wasn't exactly able to go to a lot of places, was he?
That's true.
So you never know what the terms are, but
exactly.
I'm sure everything's still fine with Lita. She'll be back.
Yeah. Sure.
They're gonna do Becky and Lita versus Trish and Zoe, aren't they? Definitely.
Yeah, it's got to be the money match, isn't it?
So the penultimate piece of news, again, short and sweet, just a congratulations to the mad lad, madcap Riddick Moss, who has proposed to his girlfriend Emma. So yeah, she said yes by all accounts.
So his fiance,
there you go, his fiance. It'd be kind of weird though saying he's proposed to his fiance. Like,
spoilers
again. You've done this.
We've been here. Stop it.
Yeah. So short and sweet, but yeah, congratulations to the pair of them. It's nice, obviously, that it was made up when they rehired Emma, even though she hasn't been used massively at the minute. But it's nice that these two are together and on the road and stuff like that. And
so much that he's gone, you know what? I'm going to marry this woman.
Yeah. Look. You did this, WWE. If you hadn't rehired her, who knows? So yeah.
Do you know what? WWE going to sew Mac.
I know, yeah. Well,
hiring love.
Yeah. Oh God.
Together.
Forever, man. I'm like, take it back.
Then now. Anyway, so Carl, here's one for the Brits who are listening, all two of you. So British MPs, we mentioned this a long time ago about this whole debate, and this come on the back of the Me Too movement and a lot of the issue around the some of the stuff that was going on in the indie scene in Britain, which I won't go into that side of it, but the debate has been sort of steaming on this week between MPs in relation to regulation of cowboy wrestling promotions in the UK, which is interesting because one of the first arguments the MPs were actually trying to have was whether it should be classified as a sport. Yeah. And I'm here like, Vince McMahon already settled this. He settled this in the fucking 90s. It's not a sport and we don't pay tax. Oh, wait. But no, I find it interesting. It feels like an old debate in a sense of like, is it a sport? Isn't it? Like, obviously it's a very physical production, but they're looking at it from a regulation point of view and going like, what elements do you need? So obviously some of the stuff they're debating, and I can be a geek about this because part of this is my actual job.
Ruin the illusion. We're full-time podcasters. What are you talking about?
But the Licensing Act, which includes wrestling, includes it as regulated entertainment. It doesn't actually include it as a sport. So you actually have sport listed separately.
Interesting.
Which is interesting, yeah. So what they're suggesting is on some level, and this is where the debate is coming in, should it be classified as a sport in the sense of like a safety point of view? Because some of the concern was like some wrestling promotions, when they're holding events and the events have been licensed, and the license includes a requirement to have like a doctor on site when the event's going on in case there's an emergency, whereas because it's not part of the regulation, because it's just a choice they've made, a lot of other companies don't, and they're like, well, that's not safe. So there's a load of elements of like, they're talking like obviously safety for the wrestlers themselves in terms of like injury, etc. They're talking about safety in terms of, again, all the issue they had with like the sexual assault allegations and such like that, and obviously the potential for con artists and whatever as well. So they're talking like, should they bring in a very specific piece of legislation in order to regulate how wrestling promotions conduct themselves?
Fascinating.
And the fascinating, well, not fascinating, it feels a bit mean the way I say this, but someone who I wouldn't have expected to be on the side of let's regulate was Ricky Knight. So Soraya's dad, who obviously he runs his own wrestling promotion, WAW, thank you, has actually been asked about this, and he made a reference to wrestling being like, because they obviously asked about the whole debate of whether it's a sport or not, and he actually he linked it more to being like a magician. He said it's like it's an illusionary sort of show. Like, people don't turn up going, I know what's going to happen. They turn up wondering, how did that happen, and that sort of thing. So he said you go in to watch a magic show, you know it's a trick, but you don't know how the trick works. He said, so you go into wrestling, you know it's predetermined, but you don't know the results. And I like that kind of analogy. I like that kind of connection. He's gone, yeah, it's fake, but not in the sense of like it's, you know what I mean? He's in favor of regulation because it's you still have to be safe and it's still very physical, but it's fake in the same way that an illusion would be, you know? Yeah. And I like that.
Makes a lot of sense. That's
yeah.
So there's great risk with certain tricks in the magic world, isn't there?
Yeah.
So,
but obviously a man who is very much connected with other indie promotions has said that a lot of there's a lot of things that they have to do now that people just aren't doing. So it's not so much about, I'm paraphrasing, he hasn't specifically said it this way, but in reference to what he said there, like, it wouldn't just be about regulation, it'd be about enforcement of as well, wouldn't it? You can't just go, well, here's the rules, stick to them, and then never look at them again. You have to be able to go, well, we're going to make you stick to these rules. So it'd be very interesting to see going forward. And, you know, we're talking about cowboy wrestling promotions, if you will, but you legislate wrestling in general in the country, then when people like WWE and AEW, when that come along, then they're going to have to adhere to that same regulation. And I would like to think that they'll be above and beyond anything they ask for.
Well, yeah.
But it'd be interesting that they potentially in the future may have to consider this element of the law.
Interesting.
So there you go.
Developing story.
Bit of geekiness there for you guys. If you're interested in legislation, then
you should listen to our other show, Legislation to the K. Legislate to the K. So yeah, fun and games all around, fun and educational, as we say. So
educational.
Fun educational. So another fun educational filled show here. So if you haven't already, hit that like button, hit subscribe. If you're listening, give us a follow, give us a rating if you want a good one. If you're thinking of giving us, but don't do that. But if you were thinking I enjoyed it and want to give us 5 stars, that'd be cool.
Be a mate.
Don't hate.
Give a rate.
Don't hate. Be a mate. Give a rate. Okay. So yeah, that was another fun-filled show, and we'll catch you on the next one.